How are things?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, busy.
Good. What,
But,
what are you up to?
well, I'm running my own business,
Yeah.
which is sort of all-encompassing, really. As I say, we live in Cornwall now. Wife and 2 kids, and typical family man.
Yeah. Well,
I can't believe it's happened. It's all gone so quickly, really.
after school, I didn't really sort of hear too much from you. I mean, was it a conscious decision from yourself not to perhaps stay in touch with people, or was it a kind of drifting apart thing?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we were at Bath and Pebble together, weren't we?
To be honest, I couldn't even remember that, Mick. I was thinking...
Nor could I. I mean, I was thinking, where had John gone? He must have gone to Bath and Pebble as well.
Yeah, that's right.
But to be honest, during that time, left school, I was just so stoned out of my box.
I was thinking that might have been involved at some point.
Yeah, I didn't do too well academically at A levels. They weren't really for me. Growing up in Southampton and sort of going to school sort of outside in Chalmers Ford, I guess I was sort of never really from that area anyway. So I don't know. I always felt like a bit of an outsider at school, really. I guess you do lose touch from people, don't you, from school and everything. But I guess if they're not in your day-to-day life and everything, then we go through life sort of making friends and losing friends, and sometimes sort of serendipitous events happen. Like you contacted me, which is good, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
But basically, I'm not a big social media person, really. My wife and I made a conscious decision when we brought our kids into the world, sort of, just not to, broadcast their sort of life and childhood online.
Yeah.
And I guess that mainly was a privacy thing. Facebook is like a constant feed and update of, as I say, everyone else's life all the time and what everyone else is doing. It's just, I like a bit of headspace, which I guess is sort of why, moved to Cornwall, really. That's another thing. It's like having space around. It's a different sort of lifestyle down here.
Tell us about it.
Well, I do miss Southampton, My dad's still there, but apart from that, all my sort of old friends I grew up with, and that they've all sort of departed and gone separate ways, really. I mean, there was a close sort of group of us, sort of post school, with Chris Saville at the centre of it. We made a band, and we were had a real good social life during the teenage years, and everyone goes to university, and that sort of all disbanded, really. But I think ever since we were at school, first coming down to Cornwall on a holiday, I just got completely mesmerised and hooked on the surf lifestyle, really. And I just knew it was for me. And here I am, 20 years later on. I feel very lucky, I'll start from Bath and Pebble, and then that will probably explain, really, get a bit of a background there.
Yeah, great.
I actually went to Winchester, did my foundation art degree there.
Okay.
Because that was sort of, I think, coming out of school, that was the sort of burning desire I had, was to pursue my art and sculpture, mainly inspired by Mr. Wilson, of all people.
That's not me, obviously.
You
The art teacher.
Yeah, do you remember Mr. Wilson, the art teacher? He did something. I think he introduced me to Henry Moore,
Okay.
amongst a few other people. But yeah, that got the ball rolling, and I went for a year at Winchester, which I absolutely loved. And then, applied to come down here to Falmouth, which was A, sort of where I wanted to be here in the country, sort of surf-wise, and B, it was regarded then as sort of one of the top art schools in the country, and I think still is, so I was pretty lucky to get in. And just had an amazing 3 years. It was got a small town, not much going on with nightlife, but there was lots of other sort of it was a real sort of almost like a subculture down here, because it was just the art school and a few media courses and everything, and it was a very sort of close knit sort of student community, only a few hundred people, really. And the art school itself was sort of surrounded in a sort of subtropical garden, so it was literally like moving down to Garden of Eden, and all those surf breaks on the doorstep, and I was just in seventh heaven, really.
Surfing?
Then, surfing a lot. Yeah, so that's really been a big part of my life, really, since I was a teenager. So, and then again, sort of got real sort of close core university friends, and they all moved away, and I sort of stayed in Cornwall. Thought, this is too good to leave, but it's strange down here. Sort of, it is bleak in the winter, should we say, and the career opportunities and wages aren't so prevalent, should we say, opportunistic as further up country. So I tried Bristol for a bit.
Yeah.
Went there, and that's where I got into sort of landscape gardening, which is what I do now.
Okay.
And I was trying to sort of make money from my art, and sort of just had sort of casual labouring jobs on the side. I did have a studio up in Bristol and did start to exhibit. But yeah, just one thing went to another, and just had to start making money, really. So I fell in with a small landscaping firm up in Bristol. Sort of had an informal apprenticeship, really, and yeah, I just loved that, really, because it was, in a way, it was quite like sculpture, and it was very, very creative and outdoors, and using lots of different materials. So sort of fell into that, and I've done it ever since.
How satisfied are you with it?
Yeah, very, I'd say. I mean, I guess it's only natural, isn't it, to sort of constantly question what you're doing, and
trust me, that's true.
if you're going in the right direction, and where would I be if I'd done this and done that? I mean, a part of me is I'm a bit sad that my art career never really took off in my early 20s, but it was just either I didn't have it in me, or I'm sort of a great believer of sort of following fate and just following the decisions you make, really. I think you make your own luck. I think, you just got to go where your heart tells you, really. That's the sort of way I've always tried to direct myself, I think. We're getting involved in a lot more sort of commercial projects, and we've done a couple of things with the local art galleries, and just got a biggest contract in my life coming up with a local art and craft sort of centre, which has had a lot of European money sort of pumped into it. So designed all the landscape sort of features around the new developments. So yeah, I mean, I'm lucky. I do a very creative job. I mean, it's hard work. It's hard physical work, and the main thing about Cornwall is the weather down here. Really, it's this time of year onwards. It's the outdoor work. It's it can be pretty savage. I think a lot of the time at Thornden I was pretty unhappy until sort of I made sort of core group of friends. I think going to a big school like that when you don't know sort of the kids from the local community, it was tough. And I think that school as well, it did have sort of very kind of suburban kind of middle class values, which kind of jarred me a bit. I was never really sort of in with the in crowd, or had the right rucksack, or right haircut or anything like that. I guess over time we all had our curtains and undercuts. Got it in the end. But yeah, I think the later years it was good. I think you had some good friends there, and I'm just trying to pick out a few names, like yourself and Chris Saville, Alex. In my life, I don't know why, I've always sort of made friends with the underdogs, really, the people that were, just a little bit different and a little bit sort of outcast, I guess, from the main sort of, as I said, the in crowd. I think that's what I remember at school a lot. All the pretty girls, they were all okay and all had friends because they were pretty, and then all the sort of confident, good-looking guys as well. I never really sort of felt part of that until sort of by the time I was sort of 15, and as you get older you get a bit more confident and you get into your own things. I got into music, sort of playing guitar and skateboarding, and I think I sort of managed to get a bit of confidence then. Thornden was very much your prowess was very much judged on your sort of physical ability as well if you were a boy, I think.
True.
And performing well at sports day. Like the guys like Sam Hughes that could do like 100 metres in 11 seconds and all that. They were kind of, well, to me me, they always seemed like, happy-go-lucky kids that were always sort of were surrounded by girls and friends and everything. And I'm not saying I resented them. I just didn't really kind of fit into that kind of model, really, of being confident and sporty. I think I had my some glimmer of hope on the football field. And I think that's something I'd do to my own son. I think the language of football, if you can teach a kid how to play football, he can go anywhere in the world and be accepted and join in and sort of make friends. And I think it's an amazing sort of international language, really. But I remember one time when Mr. Jones was encouraging sort of lunchtime five-a-side tournament. I can't remember if I played in the same team as you or Luke, but basically the James Howards and Jesna Mohammeds were already in the A team from our class. So we had like a sort of should we say sort of round-up team, but we didn't do very well. I think there was a lot of frustration going on there.
What significance did cannabis have in your life?
Quite a large one when I was a teenager. I think in a way it was quite a social thing for me. My cousin introduced me to it when I was about 15 on the back end of a paper round, and I just felt really kind of quite bowled over by it. But I also remember smoking it with Tommy by the bus stop in the last days of school, I think. But then I was never really a massively heavy user. I've been very lucky with my life. I discovered I don't have an addictive personality. All of my friends that sort of started smoking joints and grass, they all quickly got addicted to the nicotine and took up smoking. But all four of my parents are heavy smokers, and I think that probably just put me off wanting to carry on that habit. But yeah, I mean it's debatable, isn't it, what it does to kids. I think sort of heavy use in that sort of very sort of fragile development stage of a young person's mind is it can be really foolish and dangerous, really. I think a lot of the kids, that they don't know what they're doing to themselves, and I know a couple of people that really did damage themselves. I think it was very much sort of part of the culture we're involved in, really. It wasn't like a lifestyle choice or an image thing or anything. It was just part of partying and growing up and sort of making friends of it, I guess. I grew up in Portswood, which is sort of very sort of ethnically diverse, and my primary school was it was a real hodgepodge of different social classes there. There was real sort of quite sort of poor, rough, white working class kids there, mixed in with sort of Bangladeshi and Pakistani kids that didn't speak a word of English when they started. And then there was sort of the more white middle class kind of high achievers, which I guess sort of my dad was a sort of builder stroke product inventor. My mum was a teacher, so I guess I sort of was a bit more part of the middle classy kind of white camp. But even at primary school, I sort of mixed with all the kids. One of my best friends there was sort of very naughty Pakistani kid called Janjis, and again he got bullied, and the white kids wouldn't let him play football with them, and I was sort of torn, really, because I sort of made friends with him and he was good fun, and I didn't see him any different from anyone else. But when my friends sort of said, "Oh no, he can't play," I was sort of, what do I do here? Do I go with my sort of white middle class friends and be included in their gang and play football and be invited to their birthday parties, or do I stand up for my mate here that isn't so popular because he's a bit different?
What did you do?
I think I just sort of stuck in the middle, really. I think I did get quite angry and frustrated, and took it out on I just couldn't understand why they'd be so uninclusive of someone else. One of my main issues with Thornden was coming from that sort of upbringing in Southampton, and then, as you said, it was a very sort of white middle class, sort of almost materialistic
Yeah,
It's very difficult when you're at school and
very.
because you want to fit in, but at the same time, if fitting in is a complete alien sort of idea to you, then you're kind of stuck, really. My parents just brought me up, just sort of treating everyone how you want to be treated, really. And it was, I don't think they were sort of profound with their sort of concepts of living. It was just what I'd come from, really. But that was one of the sort of struggles I had, and I think I've always had with sort of that narrow-mindedness. But it's the same down in Cornwall, John.
Really?
I always think that it's a shame that I'm bringing up my children without that sort of ethnic diversity that I had.
Is it white?
It is a way. You do not see any sort of the only ethnic minority people down here are the Chinese or Oriental people that run restaurants and takeaways. There's no black people whatsoever. Well, they're very, very rare. But I think again it's sort of career choices. And the actual Cornish people are inherently racist just through ignorance. I don't think they're evil or wrong or anything, but especially some of the people in our village, some of the other mums that Nell's met, they've sort of expressed discomfort of being treated by a black doctor, where they've been sort of giving birth and stuff. But you think, wow, that's just completely crazy and just out of this world. But they've never come across them, and it's not that they're nasty people or their sort of world is very small down here, so they've never been exposed to it. So they're just, I guess it's just sort of the fear of the unknown, really, isn't it?
When did you become a parent?
2010.
Go on then. Can you describe that in any way for me? I'm not a parent, incidentally.
Well, lucky you.
Need a wife, though. Bloody hell, mate.
No. That I wouldn't change it for the world. I've just absolutely changed my life, and it's incredible, John. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. I think the night that my first son was born was sort of both the worst moment and the best moment of my life, because Nell, my wife, was in labour for 3 days, and she basically had a very difficult labour with Theo being the wrong way round, and she had a very big head, and there was just a few complications inside, so ended up sort of her on a bed in the theatre with about a dozen sort of medics and surgeons and anaesthetists and wires all around her, and me sort of wrapped up in scrubs, and being up 3 days just looking on helplessly, and it was horrific. It was absolutely terrifying. And I'm sure sort of back in the day before medicine, probably mother and child wouldn't still be here. So it was quite a moving moment. It's probably a bit of an understatement, but as soon as he was out, it was just a relief, and this kind of primal sort of flood of emotion is quite indescribable, really. And to go through that with someone else that you love as well. I mean, being a parent is very sort of sex orientated. Being a mother is a world apart from being a father. The mother sort of carries the fertilized egg and the baby in her body, for God's sake. It's just a completely different physical and metaphorical experience than being a father, of just sort of supplying the seed, and then suddenly you've got a baby thrust upon you. And in the early days as well, as a father, you don't really have sort of too much emotional or physical contact with that baby, because it's completely reliant upon its mother. So in a way, it's sort of quite strange sort of being a new father, because you kind of you're almost losing your wife to another person, and you've got to be sort of very patient and supportive, and almost sort of take a sort of back seat in the actual primary care, in a way. my wife has been incredible. She's sort of given up her career to raise our children, really. She's an artist, and she opted for being a stay-at-home mum. But yeah, she's been incredible. So we've got one of each, and they're both absolutely beautiful,
Great.
healthy,
Great.
kids full of life, and it is exhausting, I won't lie. I've never been... You don't know tiredness until you throw babies in the mix. So a lot of the sort of romance and the passion and the kind of the glamour of being in love and being in a relationship that sort of goes, but it's replaced by just that feeling of family and just wonderment in making your children, really. It's even thinking about it now, it's a sort of quite an abstract concept that I still struggle to get my head around. They are who they are. As soon as they come out, you can nurture them all you like, and you can guide them as best as you can, and teach them sort of kindness and compassion and respect and everything. But their character is sort of there from day one, which is quite an incredible phenomenon, really.
Amy Nelson, though, she's got married, and I've seen a picture of her recently.
Is she?
Yeah, she looks absolutely stunning still. But
Still?
my recollection of her was in English, A-level at Barton Peveril.
Oh, right. Yeah,
When I sat next to her, and I think my love for her grew to unhealthy levels, no doubt.
Yeah.
But what are your recollections of Amy and your feelings towards her?
I tell you what, I think I used to sit sort of opposite her in geography with Mr. Churchill. You remember the teacher with a bump on his head?
Yeah.
That perpetual bump on his head.
Yeah.
Silver hair and glasses.
Yeah.
Really nice chap. And I also sat next to Greg Edwards, but she was kind of opposite. But I was just petrified of her.
Were you?
Absolutely petrified. Yeah, I just firstly just bowled over by. I think she was the first girl I kind of. I don't know if she was the first girl I fell in love with, but she did blow me away. She just always was in a skirt and was just immaculate. And I just always thought I'd sort of build up the confidence just to ask her out and tell her how I felt. And there was like one. I was so sad. There was like one gap. I think after I'd finished my art class or something. I was doing GCSE art with Mr. Wilson, and she'd be walking from somewhere, and more than once I sort of saw her walking on her own. That was the thing with girls in those days, wasn't it? You had to sort of get them on their own if you ever wanted to ask them out or anything. Otherwise, you'd just be up for sort of public humiliation, execution. But it never happened. So I kind of suffered in silence, and then luckily left school and never saw her again. Probably a good thing. But no, it was intense, because I remember my heart just every time she walked past, or every time I sort of got eye contact with her in the class, my heart just like was beating 10 to the dozen, and she probably didn't even notice me. But she's one of those girls, and she sort of like always surrounded by
blokes,
by friends and blokes.
Yeah. What held you back, Mick? Was it confidence?
It was confidence, yeah. I wasn't good with the girls at all. But not until I was sort of 17 or even later than that, really. But yeah, that was the thing about school, really. I did lack a lot of confidence.
Where did the confidence come from when you say things with women went all right 17, 18 onwards? The band?
It's a cliche, but I think I just found myself, I just found what I was about. I found what I liked. I found what made me feel good.
Yeah.
And I think when you do that, just your kind of soul and your aura just radiates from you. And I think if you're content and you're happy, and we're not necessarily happy, but I think if you know who you are and you know what you're about, then people know who you are and who you're about as well. So you kind of attract people of both sexes, and think it's a lot easier to sort of make friends. I mean, I'm very confident these days. I have to be with my business. So talk and chat away to anyone. But I think when I was a teenager, my parents broke up when I was 10, just as I was going to big school as well, which wasn't a good sort of time really. I mean, my dad only moved a mile away, and we did still see him, but my sort of family home was sort of broken, and I think it did have a profound effect on my confidence and sort of what I sort of, well, how I dealt with my life for the next few years really. But I think sort of music and finding skateboarding and surfing and sort of those sort of things just kind of galvanised me into sort of what I wanted to do with my life really. There's no right or wrong. You just got to follow your heart and do what makes you happy, and try and be respectful and kind along the way really. I think that's the way I've sort of lived my life.